Hi guys, Graham here again from Bainbridge Technologies, your leader in power products. Today I'd just like to quickly touch on, from my last video, we're mentioning about converting amps, or watts to amps, or inverter size to amps and their current draw. Today I'd like to tell you how to know what size inverter you need to utilize. So basically that comes down to working out the amount of watts you have in total in 240 volt appliances. So if you take, say, anything with a heating element in it, for instance, they generally need a lot of power just to get that intense heat up in short periods of time. That's the way the heating elements work. So even it can be a little tiny hairdryer, but they still pull around 1700 to 1800 watts of power. Your convection cooktops are generally around 2000 to 2200 watts of power. Air fryers can be anywhere from 1600 to 2000 watts as well. So that's getting up there, which means that you basically would need at least a 2000 watt inverter to run any one of those appliances. Now, to convert that back to amps, which then is the amount of current that you would need to flow from a battery to sustain that power for any period of time. So let's say you've got a 2000 watt inverter, for instance. You're effectively going to be running probably needing around about 165 amps of power to do that. Now, if you're running a lithium battery, they generally have 100 amp BMS in them. So you would need to run two batteries, not just one. So you run two batteries in parallel to be able to cover that flow. So if they run 100 amp each, you run two in parallel, you can flow 200 amps, which will cover you then your 160 to 170 amps that you'll need to run 2000 watt inverter. So you've really got to work out and really sort of justify whether it's worth having those home luxury appliances while you're camping. You know, like sometimes just flicking the Weber on or clicking that gas cooker for a little bit is a little bit easier, or get back to the old days of just cooking over the old campfire. That's the beauty of going camping. But if you do need it, then maybe those appliances are best kept for when you're in a caravan and you're plugged into 240 volt. Because as I said, you can get appliances to run them, not a problem at all. So you can get a 2000 watt inverter, no worries. But as I said, if you're running a 2000 watt inverter drawing 160 to 170 amps, and you've got a 200 amp hour battery or 200 amp hour lithium battery, which is a very large battery, you've only got just over an hour's worth of power, and then you've got to be able to replenish that power by the next day. So you've got to think, well, geez, I'm going to need a bigger solar panel to be able to put all that power back in as well. So yes, you can do it, but unless you've got a really big battery bank, you've got to just see whether it is justifiable in doing so. But yeah, quite easily, as I said, work out, just total up all your appliances that you want to run at the one time. Obviously individually is different, but if you're running 2 or 3 appliances at the same time, you need to know that total wattage. Divide that wattage by your power source. So as I said, if it's 1200 watts in total and you've got a 12 volt power supply, you know that your current draw is going to be 100 amps. So therefore then you're going to need an inverter around sort of that, you know, as I said, that 1200 watt, but you need a battery that can flow that sort of power. So I would then say back it off to say 1000 watt inverter, continuous. Obviously the batteries can peak slightly more on their BMS, but only for short periods of time. So they'll cover you for things like coffee machines and that type of thing. But yes, all you got to do is add up your wattage, divide it by your power source, and that will give you your amps and your current draw. And then you can work out what appliances you would need and what sort of battery you would need and what sort of cable sizing and switches you would need to be able to cover those sorts of flows. So if you need any more information, please don't hesitate to give us a call here at Bainbridge Technologies, or drop us a line and we'll get back to you. Until next time, bye for now.